What I guess as far as the age range, what age range do you guys all feel like you have trouble with, the most trouble with? You guys got to participate if we're gonna do this
Over,
well. Yeah, sorry.
I would say 74 and up.
74 and up. Anyone else?
80 and up.
Well, 80 and up's pretty damn old.
Yeah.
What up?
I was gonna say pretty much anything over 80 as well, yeah.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Thank you, Molly. Again, the guys, just gonna say this one more time. The more participation we have, the easier this will become for me to help you guys, okay?
I think where I have the biggest hurdle is not only that they're old, but majority of these old people are obviously not healthy. So it's just a lot that will spike up their rate, and
Hmm.
it's what they don't want to hear.
Yeah, but
Good
I
old final
think
expense.
yeah, so but here's the thing, guys. Everything is always comes back to positioning, right? Perspective is reality, right? You ever heard that? Your perspective is your reality. And so obviously someone who's a little bit older, they want the rate to be a certain rate. Here's the problem. It's not going to be that way. However, you have to connect it to something they understand. So let's say you've got a get my pen working here. Let's say you've got a 72-year-old uh female, and let's just assume she's healthy, okay? Um what Sandra, to kind of tell me, work me through how you would pitch her.
A 72-year-old female,
Yeah.
I would ask her health questions, right? So, I mean, I would first ask her what she's wanting to accomplish from the policy. Are you wanting to cover your final expenses? Are you wanting to leave a legacy? Or are you wanting to help with living expenses for a spouse?
Okay. And what are you doing to be proactive?
I would be using that information to build uh, or to like cut open a wound and then use the policy information to present it as a solution to the problem that we just acknowledged.
Okay.
So
So
there's value.
yeah, you can even simplify it further.
Okay.
You always want to be proactive rather than reactive. What do I mean by that, right? When I say proactive rather than reactive versus reactive, you want proactive versus reactive. So right off the bat, what is insurance based off of? What are the two major things it's based off of?
Age and health.
Age and health. Okay. What is typically not good with a 72-year-old female? Age and health.
Uh,
Their age and
what is
health. So,
not good?
hey,
Like, can't.
they're typically you're 72 and
70, they're 72.
you're
So
72. Like you're 72 years old. Your age is a factor, and most oftentimes your health is going to be a factor. Very few 72-year-olds I know would qualify for a term. Why do they not qualify for a term? Well, they've got high blood pressure, they got high cholesterol, they've got this med, they've got that med, they've had heart palpitations, had AFib, they've got all these different health factors. So the first thing you're gonna say to them to you're basically kind of getting them the idea is that you're trying to get them in the idea that this isn't gonna be cheap, but in a way that's not like over the top. So you're gonna say something along the lines like, "Well, hey, Miss Mary, this is gonna be based off your age and it's gonna be based off your health. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. I'm gonna go through, see, obviously what your health is, and I'm gonna go over and kind of see where the needs are, and then we'll come up with something from there that's gonna make the most sense for you and your family. Now, Mary, right now, then you're being proactive versus reactive. You're explaining the age versus health. You're gonna get all their health questions, right? You've already got their age, okay? And then you're gonna go, Mary, right now, if something were to happen to you, right? You were to die tomorrow, you were to get really sick, you get terminally ill, you were to go to a nursing home tomorrow. What does it look like for you and your family? How many times do we truly ask that? And I want you to ask it like that. What does it look like? Describe it to me. Explain it to me. Okay? Why do we ask that?
Paint a picture.
right? You want to paint a picture.
So
So
they could see it and feel it,
exactly,
feel the pain.
exactly, they have to now explain what it looks like right now. And guess what? Ideally, if they're on the phone with you, ideally for you as the agent to kind of push it further, they're gonna say, "I don't have a plan." Okay, I don't have anything in force. Okay, so now they're saying now it's like, okay, great. Well, I'm gonna go back to something that it makes it a little bit easier to understand. If you're selling a truck that's two-wheel drive versus four-wheel drive, right? The four-wheel drive truck costs about ten to $15,000 more. Okay. But if someone's like, yeah, I go in the middle of the woods, I hunt, I go off-roading, I am hauling trailers in the middle of the woods, I do a lot of landscaping work, right? They're giving you the need that the $15,000 is going to be more than worth it. It's going to be worth its weight in gold, correct? For the 4x4, the four-wheel drive vehicle, right? Dave, I'm sure you can attest to this. There's a big difference there. Two-wheel drive truck does you pretty much no good if you're in a muddy ice. Anyone ever driven a two-wheel? If you're only on rear-wheel drive and it's icy or muddy out, it doesn't do you a whole heck of a lot of good.
Mm-mm.
So
Learned how to drive in a rear wheel drive, two-wheel drive car in the northern Michigan. That was fun.
yeah, it doesn't do you much good. So let's go back, bring it to insurance, the applicable here. So you say, oh, I have nothing set up. So they have nothing. Okay, let's assume they have nothing. And if they have something, then you're going to review it. We've already done the policy review. Let's assume, Sandra, you said in the cases they have nothing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so they have nothing. Okay. All right, so what do you want it to look like? So they're going to tell you what it is. This is finding the problem. Okay? Right? They've kind of painted the picture, right? They're going to paint the picture here. This is this is where they're at. This is where they want to be. Okay, so what do you want it to look like, Sandra? Right, or Mary? Oh, I want to make sure my kids are taken care of. I want to make sure I've got, my mortgage is taken care of. And so then from right here, you're going to ask questions. Pour salt on the wound. Okay. Okay. So you have kids. How many kids? Okay. How much do you want each of those kids to have? Oh, I want them to have $5,000 each. Okay. And then Miss Mary, how many, let me ask you this, Miss Mary, how many, you have any credit card debt? Any mortgage debt? Oh yeah, I've got about 6,000 in credit card debt. And I've got no mortgage. Um, I've got no mortgage, but I owe 5,000 on my car. Okay, and then Miss Mary, do you want any money to go for your grandkids at all? Yeah, I have six grandkids. I'd like them each get a $500. So grandkids, okay, say $500 each. I know my handwriting sucks, guys. That's also I'm holding this and trying to write on this. Okay, so let's go. All right, what else can we think here? What is that wonderful thing that we just felt the last couple years that made everything super expensive? It starts with an I.
Inflation.
Inflation.
Inflation. Okay, so you're gonna ask them, do you want to be buried or cremated? Oh, I want to be buried. Okay. Miss Mary, do you know how much a burial cost about 20 years ago? Oh, probably about $5,000. Do you know how much five to $7,000? You know how much it costs today? About $17,000. Right? You could use it for a bunch of different examples. How much did a gallon of gas cost? How much did a gallon of milk cost? How much right? And you'll notice that everything's about doubled. Every 20 years, everything doubles, essentially. Okay? So we want to cover the inflation. Okay, so let's say they've got two kids. So this is 10,000 right here of coverage. Okay? Let's say we've got an additional $11,000 of here of coverage. Grandkids, you got six of them. What's six times five? It's $3,000 of coverage. Want to be buried? Say it's 14,000. Inflation. We want to double this. So that's 28,000. Okay. So actually that'd be adding an additional 14,000. Okay. So let's add everything up. So you got 10,000 plus 11,000 plus 3,000 plus 28,000. It's gonna be a big number, isn't it? Equals $52,000. Okay. So, and because they now what they have said to you, it's like, hey, they understand that their age and health are going to be a big factor here. They've given you the problem. They've painted the picture. Guys, with a senior, this may take 30 minutes. You're not selling a 22-year-old. You're not selling a 32-year-old, not selling a 42-year-old. I want you to really pour salt on the wound. If you're off that call in 15 minutes, I promise you're never going to sell a senior. Not going to happen. My fastest calls have never been with anyone under the age of 65. Or, I'm sorry, ever been. Yeah, anyone under the age of 65 has always been a fast call. Anyone over the age of 65 is always a much slower call because it has to be. Because it's going to be more premium per the face amount. Okay? So you're going to say, okay, so Miss Mary, let's just round this to 50 grand. Okay? Let's say Miss Mary. Okay, so the first plan going to be $50,000. And this is where perspective becomes reality. What did we just do? What are the 5 things we just talked about? Kids, debt, grandkids, their burial or cremation, and inflation. 5 different things, right? 5 different things. It's been repositioned. The perspective's a little bit different. Miss Mary, what we can do is that first option for you. We're going to cover we're going to make sure that your kids are covered, where each of them are going to get $5,000 tax free. We're going to make sure all that debt when you die is taken care of. We're going to make sure each of your grandkids gets $500. We're going to make sure that your burial is covered. And Miss Mary, you're 72 years old. Pretty good chance you may live to 92 years old. If you live to 92 years old, it'll still be more than enough to cover the burial. And if it doesn't, anything that's left over goes back to your kids or your grandkids. They can choose what they want to do with that additional funds. Okay? Something like that for you. Okay? It's going to run you $380 a month. Now, Miss Mary, if you were to try to save all that money, $50,000, it would be a long time to do it, and then you would have to always pay the taxes on it. You're not going to get any cash value in it, right? So the nice thing with the insurance is you're leveraging the insurance company, and they're going to take care of everything for you. Now, Miss Mary, let's say that's a little bit much, right? How about we just take off the inflation? So we'll cut it down, and now we're at $36,000 of coverage. Okay. And Miss Mary, that brings you down. We're gonna still with everything taken care of here. We'll cover that. Each kid of your kids is gonna get $5,000 each. Your debt is still gonna be covered. Your grandkids are each gonna get $500 tax free. Your burial will still be covered, and it'll be a pretty good burial. We'll make sure that you get a nice lunch and everything. Okay. Something like that. It's going to be $250 monthly. Now, Miss Mary, if we're looking at the third option, again, they make me show you 3 different options. What we would do here is we're going to cut down a lot of things here, right? This would cover, make sure your kids each get $5,000, would cover, make sure that it would make sure your debt is covered, and would make sure that your burial is covered, okay? It's only going to be about $25,000. Okay, your grandkids aren't going to get anything, and your kids aren't going to get anything. That's going to run you about $142 monthly. Okay? Now, obviously, the biggest plan covers everything. You have to have the budget to do it. But again, we're looking at all the different needs here, and I basically take off kind of the things that I guess matter the least. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, if they cover the burial and like the debt, that's their final expense, is it not? That's final expense coverage at its core. So now that they've built this need, now they're not connecting it to $50,000. They're connecting it to all these different things. Not just this. Okay? If you've done a good job slowing down there, right? They're going to go, okay, well, it might be a little bit more than I thought. Hey, I totally understand. Here's the thing, Mary. You know, you're 72 years old. It sounds like you've never got anything like this before. I can tell you, and this is what I do. This is to really lay it on thick. If you wait till you're 82, if you can qualify, the price doubles. You've had 72 years to think about this. It's something is always better than nothing. I totally understand if you don't want to go the top option. We could totally find something within your budget. But right now, if something happens to you, Mary, based on what you told me, if you died tomorrow, you'd have all that debt and the burial your kids would have to cover because you don't have the funds for that. Am I correct in saying that? Yes? Okay. So, Mary, knowing you don't have anything set up for you and your family to cover any of this, out of these three options, which makes the most sense? And you're going to do the two things that kill salespeople more than anything. You know what those two words are? Shut up. And you're going to let them choose. And most seniors, by the way, that's the sales process they were used to back in the 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's called the illusion of choice. They have to make a choice. It's like, oh, it's too expensive. Well, you know what's also expensive? Hard things come from easy things not being done when they should have, right? If you can't afford to have it, you can't afford to not have it. And then you're going to go back to the drawing board. Okay, well, what if we're not going to cover your debt, we just cover your burial, just to make sure your kids have something, right? But you've built up all this value, and so as it goes down, they're seeing, oh my God, that's the $5,000 each of my kids aren't going to get. That's covering the debt. That's the grandkids aren't going to get anything. So they're able to see that what they pay, the more they get. Does anyone have any questions to this sales process at all?
No,
Mm,
No?
right.
no.
Um,
Do you see how that does everyone kind of see how that's a little bit different than just pitching a pro oh here's 30,000? Does everyone see how that's a little bit different?
Yes.
Okay, and do you see how you're building the value for them?
Needs to be
Yes.
slowed down and explained. Just more cause and effect.
Exactly. You've got to slow down with the senior guys. You've
Trust
got
me, I
to.
did. Talk to my dad every day.
And because they're not, and it's not that they're dumb. It's not that it's just that their brain's not working as fast. And they're only going to look at the premium amount. They're not going to look at the value. So if we can build the value by having them see what that number actually covers, they'll pay the premium on it. They'll pay the amount on it. Okay? And in fact, I had the sale I had yesterday. That was a lady calling me back who I pitched, by the way, the exact way uh, with a mortgage protection sit. She called me back yesterday and wanted a policy review and wanted more coverage. She's like, actually, I want to take care of this, 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 and this. If you've done a good job, people will keep calling you back to get more coverage down the road because they see what the premium gets them. They're not connecting it. If they look at it just from a price perspective, you've already lost. Do you guys know what the definition of value is? The definition of value is that what you think you're getting more than what you're paying for. When you say, "Hey, I got a good deal," what do you mean by that? I got what I paid, the discrepancy between what I paid and what I got is in favor of me. That's how you need to make them feel. Okay? When you go to the gas station and you get if gas was $1 right now, how many of you guys would drive to the gas station right now, fill up your tank for $1 gas? Why is that? Because it's cheap. If you're getting a lot of gas, especially in relation to what it has been, you're going to get a lot of gas for a very low amount of money, right? But it's not the price is in relation to the value. Okay, so if you can build that value by slowing it down, you will close more sits. Pour salt on the wound. Love who you're with. When you listen to me, or you listen to Nick, or you listen to Augusta when she's on, or you listen to anyone who's closing at a high level, right? Unless you're closing at that high of a level, slow down a little bit until you can speed up. Anyone here a musician? Play music at all? And
Apple.
when you read sheet music for the first time, do you play it really fast? No, it's slow. And then you do a little bit faster and a little bit faster. And then maybe after your 50th, 60th, 70th time reading through it, then you can do it at the tempo it's written at. But until then, you do it a little bit slower, right? You practice your tonality. I said this to Sandra the other day. You're better to say the wrong thing confidently than the right thing with no confidence. Okay? And again, back to when we talk about practice, like I had talked about on Monday, read this little excerpt here too. I had right here. This is
Hey,
yeah.
that was fire. Can you just repeat that last thing you said?
The good Lord, my dude, you know my brain,
Say
bro.
say things. You're better off saying
You're
something
you're better off to
confidently.
say something confidently, say the wrong thing confidently than the right thing with no confidence.
Boom. Thank you.
Um, for
That is
those
a
of you,
bar.
let's go. I'm dropping heat today. Kendrick Lamar better watch out. So I wanted to read this from this just one sentence from this excerpt of this book. Nobody wants to show you the hours and hours of becoming. They'd rather show you the highlight of what they've become. Remember that. Nobody wants to show you the hours and hours of becoming. They would rather show you of what they become.
Feeling it right now.
So, yeah, Dave yesterday. Dave, you okay if I use you as an example, buddy?
Go right ahead, man. I'm just grinding over here. Go right ahead.
So Dave yesterday was actually we find this a lot with new agents, and it happens all the time. He goes, I've done 300 dials, 350 or whatever. And me and Nick are like, really? And so we looked at his numbers and we looked at how many dials did he do, Nick? It was like 100, 111,
116, 116.
116. And it was like, dude, you have to, until you're in love with the grind, it feels like a lot more work. You know what? We always say this too. A lot of times we think, like when you work a 40-hour week job, very rarely are you working those 40 hours. You might be working a true 15 to 20 hours. So when you come and do this and you work a true 40 hours, it feels like I'm like, oh my God, I'm working so hard. It's like, no, you're just working an actual amount of hours. So what were you going to say, Dave?
I will say I didn't start dialing until that's my bad, but 10 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got back on, I was on off for a bit and got back on at 3:30. I ended up doing 210 calls.
There you go. So you finish off the day strong, but it does feel like a lot at first. And then you're going to get to a point. I remember my first 6 months, man, when I would make $200 and I would be like, damn, I must have made $400 now. And I'd be like
Right.
64 dials. And I'd be like, oh my God. And now it's like, if I had to go back to the grind, I just know like back to the, just like, you have to dial every single day. Like I don't have dialers, got to go back to that. Like even when I go now, if I'm sitting there dialing, like I can just know what it feels like. Like I'd be like, "Yep, I've done 62 dials." And normally I'm pretty close because I know what it feels like and I know the pace in which I can do it. It's about 30 to 40 dials if you're dialing by hand an hour. Okay? So, um just remember that. Kelly, you just unmuted. What were you gonna say, buddy?
Well, since you're talking about dialing and something that I've experienced on and off, and I know there's a resource on the agent site, but is there any way to maybe have a short meet or some information about best practices on spam protection now?
Actually, there is. So there's this new thing you can do with a contact card. Let me get it. I'll put it in the chat. Give me just 2 seconds. I gotta find the.
Right. I just got registered with First Orion, but I know there's a lot of other things you can do too.
So there's. Let me find it. That's a great. Actually, that's awesome.
It's important, man, because sometimes people get a hold of a grandma's 12-year-old kid that has her phone playing a game and he's upset at you. He can hit the spam button real quick.
Okay, the contact card rule. I'm gonna put it in the Telegram and then I'll put it in the chat. So the idea is, oh Nick, great job. Let's go a little sale right before right like during 11. Let's go, baby. Let me just get this in here and I'll copy and paste this into the meeting. So The idea with this is you create a contact card. I just sent you guys the link, and what ends up happening is that person's phone saves your contact card for like 4 days. So when you call them, your name and contact information pops up. It doesn't pop up as spam. Their phone thinks that you know that it knows you. I just put it in there. If you guys all register in there, that's going to help a lot with your contact rate. Because obviously, first story on helps, Kelly, but sometimes you have to, after a couple days, you have to like up it, like re-register because you'll go back as spam sometimes. So I would take that and register that today. It's going to help with your contact, making sure your contact percentage is a lot higher.
That link, first thing it says on there, what doesn't work anymore? Triple dialing.
I mean, I would disagree that completely doesn't work. I mean, obviously the guy wants you to know who he is, but
That's right. It might be his sales tactic to
it's I agree that
you
I mean
need
I
his
will tell you
product.
my contact rate 4 years ago when I did triple dialing was ridiculous. It's definitely a lot slower now because there's a screening on like a lot of times there's screening, which
Lost Google Assist.
Yeah, she has a fire line. She goes calling back. And people answer to that. If you just say calling back, it's like, why are you calling me back? And it's like, hey, I'm just calling you about the mortgage protection appointment or for a veterans appointment or the whatever your leads are running.
That's what Nick kind of, I've only left a few messages, but that's when I'm like, hey, this is Dave calling you back.
Yeah, they're like, what? And then you're able to get them on the phone. Because if you can get them to actually respond, it's normally a good sign. So anyway, anyone have any other questions though? Kelly, do you think that's helpful for you to be able to register on that and then help with the contact? I don't know if you can hear me. I don't think you're unmuted, buddy.
My apologies. Yeah, my situation a little bit different. I'm not special by all means, but I still have my old school landline for my home office, so I can't send a card to there. And on my cell phone, I don't use that for business because of this issue. But I do have three other virtual numbers that I use.
You can if you read on that though, you can upload
Okay.
it onto a CRM and have it sent out before, and then your contact will come from that CRM.
Oh, okay, like Ringy or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
else.
yeah. You can have it sent out before, and then it will connect to that number. So no, that's not a problem at all. I mean, that is old school landline. I love it.
Had the same number for 25 years, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool guys. Well, let's get after it, Sandra. I know that you were someone asking about that. I know other people have been asking about it as well, but you were kind of the number one here. What I guess when you think about the way you've been pitching versus what I went over, where do you think there's three major differences for you?
I mean, I definitely am not taking 30 minutes. Um, I am not sitting there and breaking it into like 5 different pieces and adding it up for them so that they can see it. Um, I don't know how much I really stress whether it's during an objection in the beginning, doesn't matter. Um, what happens if you don't get this taken care of? Like what is your plan right now? I did that with mortgage protection, but I don't do it as often with these vet leads, and I should.
Yeah. Well, just keep doing that. I think you'll find that you'll get more into sits that in the equal sales more because you're really pouring the salt in the wound there.
Hmm.
But cool.